Yes Bank and CNBC-TV18 present the Growth Summit Vision for a $10 trillion economy in association with Max Life Insurance.
India's fast-paced growth fosters multiple opportunities, whether it is from investments or employment generation. Further, the rapid rate of digitization is only accelerating the growth of such opportunities. To decode the prospects that India's growing economic advancement offers and understand its advantages, we have a fireside chat on getting India ready for business. And to moderate the chat, I would like to invite on stage CNBC-TV18's Reema Tendulkar. Reema? And joining Reema on stage is a leader with over 40 plus years of experience in India's financial sector, having served as the first ever woman chair of State Bank of India. She has been credited with some exemplary technology-driven banking initiatives. Please welcome Ms. Arundhati Bhattacharya, Chairman and CEO, Salesforce, India.
Thank you very much, Mugdha and Prashant, indeed. That was a very insightful keynote, perfect to set the context for today. If I have to summarize in one word, probably this is India's best time in its economic history. India has emerged as the fastest growing economy, a growth powerhouse, an innovation hub, an investment magnet, at a time when the global economy is facing challenges, slowing down. But Arundhati, now is not the time to get complacent. Now is the time to double down and do better. So the topic of today's discussion is getting India ready for business. So set the context for us.
Well, you know, when you said now is the time to really get going, I remember the chief revenue officer of the current company that I work in. The first thing he said on arriving is, now it's not the time to be tired. Okay? So it's true for India as a whole. Now is really not the time to be tired. I think, you know, India has a lot going for it. And much of it was covered in the budget. Prashant also talked about how, you know, we need to really leverage the demography, the diversity. And in order to take it all forward, you know, the government has been talking about reform, perform, transform. So yeah, I think the stage is really set. We have the right demography, we have the right push towards infrastructure, we have the right consumption patterns, we have the right initiatives that can really set us on the road to that 10 trillion economy. And I don't think anybody doubts the fact that we'll get there. It's only up for debate as to whether we'll get there faster than 2030 or we have to wait till 2030 to get there.
So as you said, now is not the time to get tired. And we have to unleash that holy trinity of democracy, demography, and diversity. So in terms of the top 3 policy initiatives to get us to that $10 trillion economy faster, what would it be?
Well, you know, I think the few of these things, anybody who's looked at the interim budget must have seen it all. The first and foremost, of course, has been capital expenditure. And I think that is, capital investment is what really does drive the economy. It builds for the future. It creates employment for the present. It really lays a solid foundation as to how the country can progress towards its stated goal. So capital investment, of course, will be key to doing a large number of things. But a key to doing other stuff as well, or rather increasing the momentum. One, of course, I think there has to be quite a bit of investment in the social infrastructure as well. And you saw a number of schemes on that. The government talked about the 4 pillars that they really want to lift up. The weak, the women, the students, and the farmers. So the 4 basic pillars, and if you look at them, they form the numbers that they are in the country, they form the larger part of the demography. So there has to be investment in these 4 pillars in order to enable them to come out of the space they are in and thereby realize the full potential of the country, so to speak. So, all of these 4 segments, the poor, they need to be included more, they need to be given more opportunities in order to come up to their potential. Women, without the women workforce being equally productive, that 10 trillion economy is definitely not going to happen by 2030. And sadly enough, India is one of the few countries where women participation is actually falling. We talk a lot about it. I don't know how much is being done for it, but I'm so glad that the government did mention in its budget, because that is a segment that does need to be supported.
Nari Shakti.
Absolutely. Nari Shakti, there is no way of not talking about Nari Shakti. The fact remains that we are 50% of the economy. If the 50% of the economy is not coming up to potential, you're leaving a big gap over there to be filled up by somebody else, and that's difficult. So definitely that's one of the spaces that is there. The next one that the government talked about is the farmers. They are called the Annadata, and they are the Annadata, and they are some of the people who are still not coming up to potential because they are yet to really and truly adopt the best ways of ensuring that they are planting the right crops for the right seasons in the right way in order to get the maximum productivity. Our productivity in the agriculture area is still far low and can be increased much more if we use scientific methods and if we use the right way of going about things. So that's the second one, and a third one. And last but not least, our youth. The youth is the strength of our country. We will continue to be the talent basket of the world. There is no gainsaying that. In the company that I am in, we are actually currently running a support center, and this, by the way, it's not just a BPO center. Our support centers normally address the most difficult problems that our customers face. And we are running it of all the languages, we are running it in Cantonese. So Indian-speaking Cantonese are actually running the support center out of here. Now, that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about when I say that we are the talent basket of the world. You can find any kind of talent that you want. You can find it in India, and you won't just find a few people. You'll find a deep pool of every kind of talent in India of the right age. So the youth of this country are actually its strength. And therefore, we need to do everything possible in order to strengthen them and enable them again to come up to potential.
Indeed, getting to a developed economy is not just about having a higher income. It's about getting all the members of the society, the women, the poor, the farmers, youth, and making this an inclusive and a sustainable growth. And that's what will get us to being that developed economy and that, GDP, per capita GDP aspiration of ours. But, an underlying layer to all this, Arundhati, is technology.
Absolutely.
And from your vantage point as a ex-banker who's, who knows the real economy, and now as a technology leader, what is the role technology can play in fueling our vision to be a $10 trillion economy?
So, whatever be the initiative, whatever be the organization that any of y'all are part of, technology is going to be the basic backbone of that organization. Without a strong backbone, just as we cannot stand and walk and run, so also no business, no enterprise, in fact, no initiative whatsoever can really and truly be successful without a very large dose of technology in it. Technology is the one thing which is very advantageous for India, because we are so populous in number. We would never be able to provide the range of services that are required by our people if we didn't use technology. 600,000 villages. Is it even possible to consider covering them with all brick and mortar branches? Look at the number of our students. Look at the number of our patients in state-run government hospitals. Can we really provide them superior quality of treatment, superior quality of pedagogy if we don't use technology? So there is a lot of fear that, with generative AI coming into the area, there will be a lot of jobs that will be lost. My answer to that is, at this point of time, we don't have enough bandwidth to do those jobs. That is what is going to be done by generative AI. That is what is actually going to enable our country to provide those things that at this point of time we are not able to provide. And as we provide those things, the standard of living of those people is going to go up. Their ability to consume more, their ability to produce more, all of that is going to kick in. And that is actually going to kick off the virtuous cycle that enables growth. So to that extent, I think technology is very important for a country like ours, a populous nation where, you may not have ticket sizes that are very large, but you have ticket numbers that are very large. The number of transactions are very large. And without technology, you cannot manage all of this.
Well, technology has made financial transactions very easy and very cheap, I must add. But this entire hype around generative AI, all the headlines surrounding it, if you just strip that out, how much of this $10 trillion economy will come in from AI, and because of generative AI in particular? And do we need guardrails? Do we need some sort of regulation to make sure that the menace of deepfakes or the bad actors in technology don't come and play spoilsport?
Yeah, absolutely. But the comment that you made, that technology has made payment very easy. It's not a question of making payment easy. What it has done is, it has created a footprint to enable those who were ultimately not bankable to become bankable. A Pani Puri wala can now actually establish, because all his customers are paying by QR code, that he actually has a 50,000 rupees income per month. He can establish it. Now, the moment you establish that he has actually a 50,000 rupees income per month, he becomes eligible for a 5 lakh rupee loan. Now, that is not something that was happening earlier. And because he gets a 5 lakh rupee loan, now, instead of being just a Pani Puri wala, he can start a few other of his businesses. So what you are really doing is, you are creating inclusion. You are enabling a lot of people who earlier were in the unorganized sector and therefore unable to access organized finance at a reasonable rate. You have enabled them to become included, and therefore, you have enabled them to access finance. So that's actually the role that this payment system has made. It's not the fact that while I'm talking to you, I'm also making payment for the chicken that I'm receiving at home. That's part of it. But the main thing is that it is enabling the unbanked to become banked. Okay? So that is one thing. Now, how much of this 10 trillion will come out of AI? It's not really a question that I have an answer to. I can only tell you that AI at this point of time is just in the second wave. There are many more waves that are going to come. We had a predictive wave. We now have a generative wave. There is going to be another wave when things become much more sentient. But there is then going to be AGI, which is considered to be the fourth wave, when AI will actually be able to think of the problem, reflect upon it, and come up with solutions. It won't need the prompts that we are having to give it at this point of time. Now, how much will its contribution be at that point of time? Difficult to say. I really wouldn't be wanting to set out a percentage. But let me tell you, it is definitely and truly going to increase productivity. And we have examples galore. The way, productivity has been increased by using, AGI. I can see that we have less than 3 minutes. Otherwise, I would have told you at least 3 stories about what we see AGI.
Tell us one at least.
Let's have one at least. Okay, so this is a simple story about a person who's trying to buy a charger for their EV vehicle. Okay, so this person calls the service center and says, my charger is not charging the EV vehicle properly. So what generative AI does is it goes through all the pamphlets that is there, the brochures in the various, units of that particular company, as well as in the ecosystem, and says that for your kind of vehicle, you're not using the right kind of charger. The charger you need is this kind of a charger. So the person says, but I don't really know whether this charger can fit into my garage. So generative AI says, not a problem, take your camera, go scan your garage. So the person goes, scans the garage. Merely by scanning the garage, generative AI is able to then tell them that if this is the size of your car, this is the model of your car, there is enough space to actually put in the charger. Would you then like us to order it for you? And the person says, yes, why not? Please order it for me. So automatically from services, the sales invoice gets generated, comes to the person along with a payment link. The person makes a payment. The payment link then generates a call to the engineer to come and do the installation, and the entire cycle is complete. So the services center, which basically normally in most places is a cost center, now becomes a sales center, becomes an installation center, and the whole journey is completed from one source. So you can imagine the way this has improved your sales. And for instance, we've done some enormous, it's quite a long period of exercise with a brand like Gucci. And with that, we have seen that the service center people are actually now creating 30% of their sales. Now, that's the kind of, uplift in productivity and efficiency that you can create with AI right at this stage. Having said that, there will always be bad actors. With every good thing, there is always also a bad thing. So, does it need regulation? Or is it something that we can get together and regulate on our own? There, the jury is out. We don't really know what will happen. But it is a fact that we have to be careful that this technology is not utilized for the wrong reasons. There is a very big possibility that it can be. And therefore, we all have to be very, very careful to ensure that there is ethical usage of the advances that we are, making. And for instance, the organization that I am in, we have a separate group of people that is simply looking at the ethical and humane use of technology.
But right now, at least we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater because of those few bad actors. We're running out of time. So I want to quickly throw in one, last question about the participation of women in the workforce coming down. That's a topic which is very dear to you. You've been a champion. You've been an inspiring leader. You've been a role model for all the women out there. We've been talking about it. We've been talking about increasing the participation in boardroom, increasing women at every single level, providing them the support. Yet we haven't seen the outcome that is desired. Why is that? And what can we do to change it? We've got leaders over here. What would you say to them?
The first and foremost is my request to all the people over here. Please turn up on Women's Day. It's not meant for women alone. Unless and until, we have your participation on the 8th of March and you fill 50% of the hall, the idea of a Women's Day is useless. Because unless you empathize with us, unless you understand the difficulties that we are facing, we will never get past it. We just won't. So please, be there with us. Together we can solve this. And I would ask for only two things. Empathy. Please understand that empathy is very much required. And the second thing is, take a few steps that are fundamental to the reason of why women leave the workforce. One of the ways in which you can solve this is by allowing your women workforce to be both hybrid and flexi-time as is required. Hybrid and flexi-time must go hand in hand. And again, to my women colleagues out there, my request is, please do not abuse any of these things that are given to you. Any abuse of the facilities being given to any of the women, if that happens, there will be a generation after you that will not get those advantages. So please, ensure that you use them well, ensure that you use them responsibly. And I believe, together we can increase the women participation and ensure that the women fulfill their potential in life.
So let's unleash the women as a development catalyst in our journey to $10 trillion. Arundhati Bhattacharya, thank you very much for joining in. Thank you.
Yes Bank and CNBC-TV18 present the Growth Summit Vision for a $10 trillion economy in association with Max Life Insurance.